Here we are at the end of January. Again, I'm very thankful that you can join me here. I'm Pastor David Schoob at Trinity Lutheran Church in West Bend. This is our weekly devotion. Today we read from the 5th chapter of 2 Corinthians. It says there, "From now on, therefore, we regard no one from a human point of view. Even though we once knew Christ from a human point of view, we know him no longer in that way. So if anyone is in Christ, there's a new creation. Everything old has passed away. See, everything has become new. All this is from God, who reconciled us to himself through Christ and has given us the ministry of reconciliation. That is, in Christ, God was reconciling the world to himself, not counting their trespasses against them, and entrusting the message of reconciliation to us. So we are ambassadors for Christ, since God is making his appeal through us. We entreat you on behalf of Christ, be reconciled to God. For our sake, God made him to be sin who knew no sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God." I wonder, how do you see people around you? How we perceive those around us in many ways shapes the very world we live in. Ever since I've heard this story, it has stuck in my mind, and that's why I share it with you today. The teacher sat around a blazing fire with a small number of students late at night. The meandering conversation was broken by periods of silence when they all gazed at the stars and the moon. Following one of these periods when no one spoke, the teacher asked a question: "How can we know when the night has ended and the day has begun?" Eagerly, one young man answered, "You know the night's over and the day has begun when you can look off in the distance and determine which animal is your dog and which animal is the sheep." "Is that right?" answered teacher. It's a good answer, the teacher said slowly, but it's not the answer I would give. After several minutes of discussion, a second student ventured a guess on behalf of the whole group. "You know the night is over and the day has begun when the light falls on the leaves and you can tell whether it's a palm tree or a fig tree." Once again, the teacher shook their head. "That's a fine answer, but it's not the answer I seek." Immediately, the students began to argue with one another. Finally, one of them begged the teacher, "Answer your own question, teacher, for we can't think of another response." The teacher looked intently at the eager young faces before beginning to speak. "When you look into the eyes of a human being and see a sibling, you know that it is morning. If you cannot see a sibling, you know that it will always be night." As we enter this new year, we are invited to see those around us in a new light. We are invited to see each other as beloved family, who we treat with respect and embrace even in the midst of disagreement. We are invited to see each other in the light of God's love. As our closing prayer, I invite you to go to the attached YouTube link and listen to the song "Through Heaven's Eyes." My wish for you is that God will help you and me to see ourselves and one another in new ways in the new year. Have a wonderful rest of 2023.